cutting edge of anomaly research. You are about to experience The Evidence with your host, 3D pioneer and image analyst with Mars X3D, D.W. Gannett.
This is the place for no-nonsense Mars anomalies, cutting-edge anomalies, presented to you in full stereographic 3D. This is your buddy Dave over at Mars X3D, and this is episode 144. If you're new to the channel, welcome. We're glad you're here. And you'll want to learn X3D at the link down below. Take a couple minutes. It's a great superpower to have. If you can't do X3D, don't worry. There's a bonus section for you guys just a little bit later on where you get to see an approximation of what some of these things look like in 3D. Meanwhile, we divide our finds into three classifications: objects of geological interest, shortened to OOGIes, then artifact candidates, which means I don't know what it is, but it ain't natural, and then full-blown artifacts, which carry the imprint of intelligent agency, indicated by the non-fractal geometries incorporated in them. In any case, we have a lot to look at this week, some terrific finds that my colleagues are making, a couple I dredged up myself, and we wanted to be sure to share them with you, so here they come. Put on your X3D chops and let's roll. My Hungarian buddy, Laszlo Shabalix, is a specialist in finding tiny things that other people overlook. This one is no exception, and it is our one and only OOGIe in this episode, something kind of unusual. This is tiny, and it is far away, but you can see the sunlight reflecting off the dome of, well, it looks kind of like a skull. You can see what might be two eye sockets and maybe even a nose and a mouth. Now, we're going to zoom in on it well past the pixel breakup point, but if you're seeing this in X3D, you'll be able to see what we're talking about. Well, there you have it. Is it a skull, or is it just a trick of light and shadow? Is it a natural formation? Well, we will actually revisit this just a little bit later on and maybe be able to make a better determination at that time. We have a fairly large selection of artifact candidates today, and this one is from Curiosity 3810 ChemCam by Neville Thompson. Several people have pointed out the house-like structure at the top of the hill, pointed out by the green arrow, and it's well past the pixel breakup point. Moving in on it doesn't give us any additional information, and for our intent right now, I'm going to call this just a geological feature. I think it's probably a rock and not a building. We're actually more interested in this. This feature within the box has some interesting points to it. Now, we understand that the ChemCam is low resolution, but let's go ahead and zoom in on this and see what we can see. As we get a bit closer, we can see there's an angularity to the lower portion of it that's compelling, and it seems as if there's a cylinder of some kind sitting on top. Now, we're going to zoom in even closer, and again, this one is well past the pixel breakup point, but it'll be useful to point out a couple of features. We can see that the base is triangular in shape, has 90-degree corners along the base, that it has 3 openings on the side facing us, which appear to be symmetrical and separated by symmetrical thicknesses of whatever it is. And then that whatever it is on top appears to be a cylinder with something projecting out towards us. And it's very blurry, of course, the small portion, but I'm wondering if maybe that's in motion, or if maybe it's just so small it didn't register. In any case, this is clearly, in my mind at least, an artifact candidate. Here's a strange one I ran across in Percy 777, way off there inside the green box. So how about a Martian gear shift? There it sits, knob and all. And, of course, that's not what it is. But neither is it geological in nature. I am not aware of any process that would develop something like this, and nor have I seen anything like it before on the surface of Mars. Also, that rock or boulder to the left, I initially thought, not a whole lot going on, until I took a little bit of a closer look. Most of you won't be able to see what the green arrow is pointing out, but if you look closely enough, if you have a large enough image or your monitor is bright enough, you'll see 3 or 4 lines equally spaced, dividing that round section off, and then it branches off to the right with a tubular formation. So I believe this is a fused piece of mechanical equipment. Now, there's no sense zooming in on it either, because it doesn't add anything to its visibility. So hopefully your eyes are sharp enough, or your monitor is sharp enough, so that you can see what I'm pointing out there. We have a nice selection of what I believe are artifacts in this episode, and this is something that Sarah Runcie pointed out in Percy 766. Pretty good sized chunk there inside the circle. I like this one. You can see in back the evenness of that piece, the right angles, the symmetrical shapes, the circle in the center, the knobs in the recessed center, and then in front of it a cylinder, a swollen cylinder with what looks like, almost looks like the end of a shock absorber sticking out there on the bottom. Who knows what this is, but it's clearly not natural, and is our first featured artifact in this episode. Here is an interesting device pointed out by Bob Friedman that he found in Percy 777. The first thing I noticed about this highly symmetrical wedge is the reflection of the sunlight on top, which definitely gives it a metallic appearance. Look how even its shape is, how clean the angles are, and the various sockets almost, or attach points that are on the front surface and on the side. This is clearly mechanical in nature, and is a really great find by Bob Friedman. Here's one I came across in that same GMAC by Nifty of Percy 777, and pretty hard to see from here, but let's get in close. You know, sometimes it's just the simple things that hit you smack between the eyeballs. That's a perfect square with a perfectly serrated edge all the way around. Obviously not natural. There it sits, a simple thing, but it's clearly indicative of an artifact. Laszlo also found something in Percy 777, and this one's actually close to the rover. Now, come on, Dave. That's just a rock. Yeah? You think so? Take a look at this. How about these perfect 90-degree angles in 3 dimensions? We find a lot of artifacts on Mars, mechanisms that are badly eroded or fused, or both, actually. The general cataclysm really tore things up, and these things have been sitting on the sand and under the sand and on the sand again, in and out with the wind for millennia, possibly millions of years. That they retain any kind of recognizable shape at all is only due to the non-fractal mathematics they incorporate. Friend Laszlo has been on a roll lately. Here's another one that he found in Percy 764. Look at the beautiful symmetry of this piece, and look at the compound curves, perfectly symmetrical. That's almost impossible to happen in natural context. And of course the top right side, which is an inset square with knobs or possibly carving of some kind on the interior, this is clearly an artifact, and it might even qualify as a pyramidion capstone that goes on top of an obelisk or a pyramid. Now we turn to some beautiful finds by elite researcher Rami Bar-Ilan, and we're going to zoom right in on what the arrow is pointing at. To me, this really does look like a building component, perhaps part of a facade or part of a rooftop. But take a look at this. This looks rather like a skull, doesn't it? Maybe that's pareidolia on my part. But let's take a look back at the skull that Laszlo found and compare the two. Here's Laszlo's skull, and here is Rami's. They do seem similar, in my opinion. What do you think? Here's one that Rami pointed out in Curiosity 635. Is it a rock or is it something else? You be the judge. This one is from Curiosity 1450, and I think this is just a beautiful find. It speaks for itself. If you can't see the structural aspects of this, then you need to go back to your kitty cat videos, because I can't help you. Another beautiful find by elite researcher Rami Bar-Ilan. Well, thanks for stopping by today, and here's that bonus section, like I promised, for the X3D Challenged. And hey, if you saw something you liked today, please leave a thumbs up. It sure helps out. And maybe even subscribe. That would also help. Click that join button. You find out how easy it is to achieve undying glory for less than 10 cents a day. And that also helps us out just a whole lot. Meanwhile, if you have anything you'd like me to have a look at, just use the email down below, and I'll get to it and drop you a line, let you know what's happening with that. So, for all you proud weirdos out there, you know who you are. Stay safe and stay weird. This is your buddy Dave over on Mars X3D. Be well.